Hi, everyone. We're live with no one watching because I didn't tell anyone. Yes. Can I have me a water here? Oh. Well, I'm here. No one's showing up, but that's fine. Ah, Bear. Tim Smith. I do not date guys at all, and I'm close to Orange County. Why am I so sexy to other men, Tim? I mean, what's up with that? No, I do not have an OnlyFans. Can you drip different sodas onto your body so I can watch it? Ew. Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants. Okay, does anybody have non weird sexual fetish questions for me today? That would be nice. Indonesia, come. Who's Indonesia? Who are they coming with? I thought Sam Kimsum died. Well, mm, mm, don't know who that is. Oh, and he did die in 1992. At least see I look like him reborn. I mean, come on, I'm not that old. I am that old, but that's not the point. That's not the point. It's a very rude thing to say to me. Yeah, he was on. He played an angel on Married with Children when Al had that existential crisis, and they showed Al what happened. Favorite color's green. They showed Al what happened when he wasn't if he had never been born, and his family was happy, and he's like, no, no, I have to live to make them miserable. Night, yeah, I remember that. Okay, I said my favorite color is green, although I'm also very partial to blue. Toxoplasmosis. My mother's favorite color was blue. Blue is the color of Israel. How young is too young for a girlfriend? 17. You know, I actually had a friend of mine. His sister was really into me at 17, and it was creepy. It really was. I'm 45. I know I don't look it. People tell me all the time you don't look it. How old are you, Sophie? This is Robot Monster in the background, if any of you didn't notice it, which is one of the great terrible movies of the world. Richard is a ladies' man. Not really. Never been all that suave, to be honest with you. I mean, I attract young girls and dogs for some reason, and cats, of course. Heard it yet about the Gates report, and I have a number of videos about my experience living in the path of the LA fires, things like that. So like the one about changing your underwear you did earlier. I think it's important to educate about hygiene. Um, I intend to do well. My focus on those videos was is another channel, honestly, and it's not a channel that gets a lot of love. Although the dude that wants to watch the soda drip down my man boobs would love that channel. It's called Richard's Fat Man Getting Fit, and I do intend to do hygiene videos in that. Although there is a natural preparedness month. I forgot which month it is, but I was planning to do some videos for that about preparedness. So yeah, I mean, there's content like that. Again, if there's ever anything you guys want me to do a video about, the thing to do is to say so in the comments because I used to work with the homeless and they had a big hygiene problem. So I know a lot about why hygiene is important. That was a thing that's called life skills. And life skills, you have to teach these people how to bathe, how to do their own laundry, how to cook, because they never learn that. Typically speaking, the homeless come from a damaged situation. Yeah, I mean, sorely, punk rock life skills are sorely lacking in a lot of people. I mean, I used to have this friend who he'd say, I love it when I don't shower. I smell great. After 3 days, I smell like alcohol. And after 4 days or 6 days, I smell like my cologne. And it was like, dude, you might smell good to you, but you don't smell good to us. And I mean, like, this was the kind of person you could smell him. He was the kind of dude that would shower, right? And it would just wash the first layer of dirt off so that he smelled worse after his shower. And this is one of the reasons why, like, if I've been, staying at home for a while and I haven't showered, I will actually shower like the night before I go somewhere, then right before I leave the house because of that. Easiest time to research things yet. Most pop people now suck at life skills. Yeah, um, to be completely honest with you, I I actually do have a book on health. I have a number of books on health, but I have a high school grade book on health, which covers a lot of life skills. Life skills, however, are not just hygiene. They encompass other things like cooking, cleaning, washing your dishes. I remember I went over to somebody's house once, and I forget what it was we were doing, but there are like two of you watching now by the moment, so I don't know how long this live screen is going to last. This, by the way, is his mother. Look, that's just adorable, you and your little mouth. But yes, this is Wolf in my lap, and this is Bear on my shoulder. So Wolf is the male version of Bear. He will likely lose his markings as he grows older and become a darker animal. But yeah, I mean, life skills can go anything from simply washing yourself or brushing your teeth to how to balance your checkbook and do your taxes. It's a very wide category, but you have to understand, you know, as I say, I worked with the homeless, and a lot of them smelled, and it was not a bathing thing necessarily because I remember I came home one day and I smelled like them, and I showered, and I woke up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and as I'm using the restroom there, I smelled that smell again. I'm like, dude, I showered. So right then and there, I jumped in the shower and I showered again, and it turned out I needed a better kind of soap. Not all soap will wash that smell off. So that's a thing, you have to keep well in mind is that just because you're washing with soap, it doesn't necessarily mean it will remove the smell that's associated with that. Yeah, different scales of life skills, not necessarily even changing your car battery sometimes. Yeah. I mean, man, I think I was 15 the first time I changed a car battery. My old man walked up to me as I was doing my homework and said, "It's time you learned how to change a car battery." Because his car battery had died. So he handed me the new battery, and I took out the old battery. And on that particular car, you had to remove screws. But I mean, it was in the owner's manual, so it wasn't like it was a big deal. Like installing a faucet is a much bigger deal, and I've done that as well. Yes, Bear. That's called a movie. Bear just loves to be around people. Ivan Bear installed a faucet. I've never. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a rare thing. And let me ask you another question, Rockstar 92. Have you ever changed a stem valve? Do you know what a stem valve is? Because I've changed every stem valve in my house. I have a rather old house. And, you go to the store, you pay like 15 bucks for a stem valve nowadays. I don't think I have, yeah. You pay 15 bucks for a stem valve, or you call a plumber, spend 150. That's just one of those things about the world today. So, Rockstar 92, where are you from? Where are you communicating with me from? You a Los Angelino like myself, or you out in New York? Don't want to tell me? That's fine. Look, guys, uh, I'm from Florida, actually, lived in Vegas for a while now, though. Vegas, huh? Oh, that's not too far. It's been a long time since I've been to Vegas. My sister loves Vegas, and I mean, I bet it still smells like her. Ugh. That woman could stink up anything. I mean, I remember when she lived with me, and it was one of those rare times I was sleeping at night because I'm nocturnal, and I just hear this scream. It was her husband. It was her boyfriend at the time, but her husband now, and he just goes, "Jesus Christ, woman!" And I hear her say, but honey," and then I hear him scream like three or four more times, and I wake up in the morning, and there he is sleeping on the couch, and I'm like, "Wow, intestinal fortitude." You know what I'm saying? Like, this chick is just nasty. And this was back when I was in college, and I mean, every day I went out there and I got more bread pans because the only way I could stop these two idiots from fighting was to make cornbread. I would make cornbread, and then she would have her mouth stuffed with cornbread, and then she would shut up long enough for me to get some sleep. It was an interesting world. Haha, yeah, you can laugh. You don't have to smell that. Bear is trying to eat me now. Anybody else in the? We're down to three people. This is apparently not a good time to live stream. I had this weird dream. Uh, you know, Earlier today I had a job interview. I need a job, and I now have a second interview tomorrow. And I came home and I just went to sleep because, of course, I am nocturnal. I sleep during the day, and they're going, we might have to put you on a swing shift. It's like, hopefully I'll get another graveyard. And so I have this dream that I'm in a video game of some kind, and I'm sitting in a field, like not like a field, but like a football field or something. They're bleachers, and in the background, because it's a video game, there's a battle going on in the sky between humans and aliens. And then this guy who's like a spokesperson for the game shows up, and he starts telling us about this promotion where you have to put on a crown and take your pet alien mantis to a specific space. And suddenly, all these people, my sister and this guy who used to be a friend of mine, and this group of people, one of us gets the alien and the rest of us get the crown, and we're going out there and we go to this shop where there's all these things that are for the video game, but it's not really a shop. Everything's free, but it's like a store, and it's a promotion that we get free stuff. So we're just grabbing this random stuff, and I'm sitting there this whole time thinking, I'm never going to play this video game again. Why am I doing this? But I kept looking around for stuff, and then I started looking for soda, and for some reason they had soda bottles that were empty. And I guess you were supposed to fill them up somewhere in the game, but where I couldn't tell you. So I found it very confusing, but that was a dream. And I think the point of this dream was that I was doing things and not really getting anywhere. You know, it's much like, why am I doing this live stream? Because I'm trying to get this channel monetized, and wolf or bear. Oh, you're just like your mother. Anyway, so I think it's kind of like with this YouTube channel. I do a lot of work and I don't get much out of it. And I mean, this is a hobby. It's not my main source of income. I have a bunch of YouTube channels, and this is the second largest. So I'm pushing this thing. You knew you were in a game, or did it feel very real? I knew I was in a game, but it felt very real. Uh, I mean, they were physical objects, but I knew that they were part of the game. And like there was a TV, and it looked like an old-fashioned TV, but it was made out of plastic. It was like a toddler's toy. I mean, I don't know if you remember, like back in the day, you used to get like the old fake rotary phone with a smiley face on it. It was like that, only it was shinier and it didn't have a smiley face. And it was like yellow and red. It was like something you'd see in The Simpsons. So it was a real item. It was an item that could exist in real life, but it was shiny than normal. So it's like I've seen things made out of that type of plastic, but I mean, I knew it's like sometimes it's a video, it's a dream. I don't know if I knew it was a dream. I don't recall knowing that, but I was having this weird dream, and I knew I was in a video game, but it didn't look like a video game. I think Soda Pop Weirdo has left us, so he didn't get to see that water drip down my face. Bear's really putting on a show for you folks. Ugh. At first I got up to like 10 viewers. Now I'm down to 3, and I think one of them is one of my other channels. So it's you and me and Bear make 3 tonight. I don't know. What can one do in a live stream? Bear is getting snot on me. Don't give up, guy. It's a shame because you're an engaging, knowledgeable guy. Yeah, I mean, look, what I really need is better computers because often the normal videos I make on this channel take a long time, and they're very simple. They're two layer videos, which means the background and me. And you know, it can take hours. So if I were just making videos for this channel and I were just making like a video a day, it wouldn't be an issue with the computer I have. But um, you know, now that I've gotten the right number of videos made for this channel, I'm supposed to move on to the next channel, which is like Fat Man Getting Fit. There's only so many videos I really should be making for that. And I mean, for those of you, all 3 of you who are watching, I very much doubt any of you are fans of that. But for those of you who are fans of that, I've got a couple of videos that I've been meaning to post for some time, but the channel just isn't doing much. Ah, there. And, you know, then it's like, Richard reviews children's books, where it's like my record in one day, I think, was 40 children's books. I literally went to a job where I had nothing else to do, and I rolled down my car window just a little bit so it made a slot. And I would read a children's book and I would pop it through the window. What's up, Ray? I love you, Richard. I hope that's in a platonic manner. There was another guy who wanted to love me on this channel really badly. Mm. Wanted to watch me spray myself with soda for some reason. I mean, what's up with that? Where are you watching from, Ray? Anywhere I'd recognize, the Florida person like the last fellow? Austin, Texas. Cool. I hear you don't do a lot of walking in Austin, but the rattlesnakes are enormous. I've always wanted to try rattlesnake. Not badly. I mean, like I could get canned rattlesnake if I really wanted to, but yeah, there was one time the crazy guy who used to live across the street from me. He killed a rattlesnake, and he brought the skin home, and I'm like, why didn't you bring the meat home? I want to try rattlesnake, and I'd rather have it fresh. Bear was wrestling an alien. Yeah, Bear does that. He's a little booger. And he thinks I'm delicious. Look at that. He just thinks I'm delicious. He's going, I'm going to eat you. This one of those things. My worst nightmare is dying outside of my house and no one knowing and not coming to take care of my cats. And this is because, of course, if I die in my house, my cats will eat me, and they'll have plenty of food because I weigh more than 300 pounds. Another friend chatting on my Facebook, but I'm not sending this through Facebook. Roman. Is that a monkey? No, it's a gorilla. Yeah, one of the things that we often do as a society is we make the mistake of monkey versus gorilla. And, typically if it's a monkey, it has a long tail. Gorillas do not have tails. And chimpanzees are not monkeys, although we generally use monkey when we refer to them as the pejorative or the insult for those of you who don't speak nerd. All right, 4 people watching. I don't know when I should be doing these things. They seem to be getting less and less successful. I do believe my top view was 27 people watching at one point, but fewer and fewer people are watching. So that's always my question. I mean, I don't know how these impact my channel. As I say, my big thing is I need watch hours to get monetized. And, it's like, let's just say you have a video that goes viral, which is possible. And I mean, none of my videos had ever gone viral, but I've had a few videos that did really well. Last month, I think it was on Random Street Theater, I had a video that that got 5,000 views. All right, and that video getting 5,000 views was my most successful video. It didn't cost me anything to make that particular video, and I think I came back with $5, which is a pretty good ratio, 0 to 5. It's like if you go and you watch a movie, for example, which is what I do on Random Street Theater. I normally review movies. You spend, $15 for a movie ticket or $9, and I don't know how much the cheap house is anymore, but even if you go to the cheap house to watch a movie, you're not making that money back. And by the time it gets to the cheap house, not a lot of people see it. And one of the odd things is I will go out there and watch a movie that's just absolutely obscure and weird, and people may very well say, "Hey, I want to know what that movie's about," so I'm going to watch that review, and then I might watch a movie with Tom Cruise in it, and it'll get like 60 views or 30 views. So it's really weird. I mean, I think one of my top movies of the last year was a 2008, I think, film called Cocaine Crabs from Outer Space. And I watched Cocaine Crabs from Outer Space, and I really enjoyed it. And the review got more than 2,000 views, so that's really weird. On this channel, last month's biggest video was rum and cola, and that is a video where I mixed a rum and cola, and it was like, why do people want to watch that? And I mean, mixing drinks is something I enjoy doing. I'm normally kind of a slapdash guy, not a I want to do it by the book guy, but you know, when you're making the video, you can't be a slapdash when you're actually making a video about that drink. So, that was that big thing is that I actually had to get in there and try to measure the rum and put the right amount of ice in there, and I had to have the lime as a garnish. And people said, the weird thing was I didn't mix the drink. So that was a thing. And that like the next thing I have is gin and juice, which is very simple. It's a shot of gin, ice, and just however much juice you want to put in that glass. It's juice to the top. So the amount of juice you have for gin and juice depends on the juice, right? And I've already shot that video. After that, what I want to do is screwdriver, and you're supposed to cut a fresh orange for a screwdriver because that's the official garnish. I'm not intending to stir it with a screwdriver, which is where the drink gets the name, but I actually do not stir my drinks. Incidentally, I read recently that uh, there was a theory that James Bond takes his martinis shaken because it reduces the alcohol level and permits him to look more drunk than he is. I do not know how shaking a martini would reduce the alcohol level, but that apparently is a belief. I also don't know if it's possible to actually bruise gin. I think I saw that on Cheers many years ago, and I asked a bartender, and the bartender was like, "I don't know, never heard of that." And I tell you this much: the last time I was talking to a bartender, they closed the bar. It was at a hotel. They closed the bar shortly thereafter because there just weren't enough people buying drinks, which is really sad because some years later they just poured out all the alcohol as opposed to giving it to me. And I mean, I don't think I could have drinking all that alcohol. I'd still be working on it some years after the fact. But it really seems sad to throw all that alcohol away. But anyway, I was talking to a bartender, and I mentioned to him that one of the reasons you get a hangover from bad alcohol is because its distilling process is not as refined, and you tend to get more isopropyl or more formaldehyde in the alcohol, which impacts your body, and that's why you get the hangover. Chris Cleary, I miss me some old fashioned drinks. Whatever happened to the Grasshopper, the Tom Collins, Brandy Alexander, and the Slow Gin Fizz? I don't think I've ever heard of those kids these days. How old are you again, Chris? Uh, Looking up a grasshopper. Oh, that looks awesome. Looks like pudding. That's a grasshopper, apparently. Garnished with mint, rimmed with chocolate, and it looks like mint pudding. Wow. Yeah, Chris, I don't know if you watch my videos regularly, but any video you see, you can always recommend I try mixing a cocktail in it. You know, if you just said the word grasshopper, I would not know what you mean, but you would just in the comment section say, "Hey, try mixing a grasshopper. It's a cocktail or something of that nature." And I mean, if you do that enough, I'm going to do it. I had a particular subscriber to more than one of my channels, and he's like, "I want to see your opinion on Those About to Die." So I think up to now I've watched up to episode 3 of Those About to Die, but he said it often enough that I would go, "Well, I guess I better do it." So I did it. You know, it's just one of those things that if there's enough interest, I tend to do whatever it is. That looked good to you. Check out the others. Uh, Gin Fizz looks like lemon meringue pie. I don't know if you guys can really see that. You guys definitely can't see that. But Gin Fizz, it has what looks like a meringue on the top. It's garnished with a lemon, and it has a uh, candy cane type straw. Some of them are garnished with dried orange, which is a thing. There's a basil gin fizz. Ooh, there's a raspberry gin fizz. And look at that. It's hard to find those thin glasses, and they don't do well in the dishwasher. But this metal rod thing is another thing I don't have. So if I wanted to make that, I would have to buy. Um, how do you even clean those? Do you just clean them in the wash, or do you put them in the dishwasher? I mean, what do you do with those? If that looked, okay. So as I say, guys, I mean, this channel is as much about me as it is about the audience. So I do have 51% of the vote, which is unfair. But if there's stuff you want me to try doing, you know, as I say, what I would really like to do is I would like to get a GoPro, and I would like to do things like go to Knott's Berry Farm and ride the rides and have the GoPro strapped to my chest and just, film myself at the rides and then bring that back here and make a video of that for you so you guys can experience that. I don't know if that's 100% legal. I do have a friend who works at Knott's Berry Farm now that he's retired. He may even be able to get me cheaper tickets, although not by much. I've never actually met this man, ironically. He was a friend of a friend, and I had a falling out with the first friend, so I don't know why he's still friends with me, but he works at Knott's Berry Farm. He loves Knott's Berry Farm. He's not working because he needs the money, which, I mean, if we could all be so lucky. And that would be where I would start. I know that you can't do that at Disneyland. They have a tendency to get upset about that, so would leave them alone. But I live in Los Angeles, so there are a lot of theme parks around me, and one of those things that I can always do is I can go to like museums and things, and there are various rules at museums, but I can do those things. Those drinks were very popular in the 70s. What I don't understand is if something tasted good in the 70s, why doesn't it taste good in 2025? Okay, different generations drink different drinks for varying reasons. Those drinks are likely harder to make, and they may cost more. And they may have gotten away from those because them costing more, maybe the economy changed. I know that millennials prefer sweeter drinks, and the modern generation, I don't know what they're into, but tastes do change. I'm sure there are places where those drinks are still popular, but I mean, like I say, I've never heard of most of them. For instance, over the years, there have been many different popular beers. The recipes have never changed, yet the same popular beers then people don't like now. This has happened many times. Um, okay, the largest beer swap in America, I forgot the original brand, but the original brand swapped for cheaper ingredients, and that's why Budweiser took over. So I don't know. I mean, companies like that are always trying to get um, advertising. And there was one person I used to know who he contacted a beer company and was like, "Would you give us money to make a movie?" And you know, the beer company turned around and said, "No, we will not give you money. We will, however, give you beer. Show up with a truck, get all the beer you want, drink our beer at every one of your filmings, and have our beer on set." So it could be that these beers become popular because they show up in movies, and in showing up in movies, people say, "Hey, I'm going to try that stuff." Vloggers such as Adam, The Who, and Carpetbagger do them park vids all the time, including Disney. You could totally do that. I would have to look into it. I mean, again, I'm not going to Disney alone, and that's an expensive video to make. And Knott's Berry Farm is a lot cheaper, so that's where I would start. Typically, I would want to speak to man. I mean, I would want to do things on the up and up. I don't. If Disney would rather I not do that, I would rather not do that for Disney. You ever heard tell of regional beer, Peel's beer, Olumbra? They were favorites back in the day. Never heard of them. And I mean, right now I have 14 different kinds of beer in my house. This is because I am a food blogger. On Random Street Theater, I often try beverages. Beer is a beverage, and I got a 12 pack sampler for beer. I couldn't even tell you how many different kinds of soda I have in my house because of that. But yeah. Kangaroo Island TV. Oh, that would be a weird place if you know anything about kangaroos. You could do tours and taste tests of microbreweries and craft distilleries. Yes, yes, I could, if I had the money. Again, that's not something you do alone. It's something you talk to the microbrewer. There's actually a microbrewery called Paperback Brewing. I believe it's in Glendale, 10 miles from a place I used to work. And they also have a restaurant, so it'd be very productive for me to go there. But, I mean, again, I need to bring equipment, I need to have cameras. It's not as easy as it sounds. Okay, I've been all over Disney World. Near Disneyland is in Anaheim, though. Never Disneyland, it's in Anaheim. Yeah, I live in LA. It's not far from Anaheim. Uh, what's your favorite beer? You ever tried pumpkin beer? Dude? Uh, yeah. Look, in better years, one of the things I do is after the holidays, I would go to all the stores and I would find the deals. And one of my favorite beers ever, I believe, was a Red Hook pumpkin rye. And or was a pumpkin coffee beer is what it was. And I do believe it was by Red Hook. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. But one of the things about being somebody who, I mean, part of my lifestyle is I'm supposed to try something new every day. And trying something new every day means that you don't drink a lot of beers twice, and that beer is only available in October. In fact, Red Hook Rye is kind of a rarity out here in California. There are stores that sell it, but you have to look. Kangaroo, kind of like a guy, Fieri, lol. I'm not sure how to Well, I don't know much about Guy Fieri. I mean, he's the guy that does Hot Wings, isn't he? And I mean, really, do you know much about kangaroos? I mean, they're angry, brutal. Uh, Kangaroos have such a hard lifestyle. Like there was this picture of this kangaroo. Guy Fieri goes around tasting different restaurants around the country. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. Uh, I wouldn't be going around the country. I'd be going around LA. But it's one of those things that I would. I mean, look. Here's the thing. I do videos. I often do videos on random street theater where I do things like I try the new Whopper that's out, and because of the logistics of distance, certain like Arby's. If I wanted to try Arby's, I would really need to film that in store. I really need the manager's permission to film it in store. So I mean, it would be better to do it sometime. Like call, hey, is there a time where you're normally your doors are closed but you're still serving food where I could try your food, and then I would schedule a bunch of times, like maybe once a month, till I tried everything on the menu. That's a thing I would like to do, but do understand, these things cost money. You generally want to bring in an assistant to help set up your camera, and then you would normally buy your assistant food and you'd have to pay them. So I got friends that would do that, okay, but I have a weird thing on my hand. That's my skin. Look at that. But I mean, it's just having the money and recouping the money for it is the problem. He kind of entertaining, actually, nutcase. Mm. I love me some Stella Artois and also some pizza while I drink it. I'm more of a Stella Negro fan, to be honest with you. But then that is because my brother, when I used to drink with my brother, he was a dark beer enthusiast, and I was always finding dark beers for him. So yeah, all you need is positive attitude and a GoPro. Kangaroos are misunderstood. They are lovely creatures. I'm sure they are lovely creatures, but Kangaroos are known to abandon their children to predators so that they can survive. Mm. Did you ever try the Halloween Whopper that had a black bun? It turned my poop green. Yes, I did try that. And indeed, it did turn my poop green. Modern generation is too hip for those old drinks. Once again, I would like to do like the drink of the month or maybe even the drink of the week. And, if I could make it profitable, those obscure drinks would be the better drinks to do because they're more interesting to people. And I mean, that's just one of those things about the world we live in is that you don't, I mean, the screwdriver is easy. That's why I have an interest in it. You do the drinks that you can do, but I mean, if I could go out there and have like a full bar and be able to mix any kind of a drink, I mean, I would do that. And I would love to. Actually, I would love to be able to have these drinking parties with my friends where we all get together and we pour cocktails into sherry glasses and we try various things. It's like you would have a vodka and okay, we'll all have it in a screwdriver. So you make a screwdriver and you pour the screwdriver into tiny glasses so that we all don't get too ridiculously drunk, and then we all try it as a screwdriver, then as a Harmony Bay, then as a martini, then as a Midori martini, and so on and so forth. And I'd love to do that kind of stuff, but again, it's expensive. I would need to have my house remodeled, and it's not something I'd recoup my money on. That's one of those things about YouTube and I've always tried to be as sensible with YouTube as possible, but I mean, I would say I'm easily $10,000 in the hole on YouTube. Because I buy things like this computer here is one I bought specifically for YouTube. So yeah, it was $1,000. You don't need permission if they ask you to leave. You stop, then that's another thing. I watch the YouTubers out and about all the world. Um, it depends entirely on what it is you're doing. Okay, some of the restaurants that I want to try, like the Beetle House, you definitely should get permission because it's a whole show, and you know you would want to watch the show like really with them. There would be like, can we come in early and get whatever it is, the food, so that we're not interrupted by the show? And then I would make a video where I'd review the food, and then I would come back at another time and review the show. And then I think it's $40 a plate at the Beetle House, but it could have gone up. And drinks are not included in that, although their drinks are really bizarre. They have one of their drinks is an actual served in a fish bowl with Swedish fish. It's blue, of course. Do you think RFK Jr. will stop the Halloween Whoppers because he wants to ban food dyes? RFK Jr. is a menace to society. He wants to ban fast food in general, and he wants to eat dead things that he finds on the side of the road. That dude is weird. And I mean, you look at like Donald Trump there, and he looks like a guy that's done a lot of cocaine. It's hard for me to describe exactly what that looks like, but he has certain aspects to his physicality that remind me of Bush Jr., who also did a lot of cocaine. And, one of the reasons the second Bush is the way he is because of his cocaine abuse. Now, I mean, there was a place in my mind that was actually thinking, what if Donnie is so happy that he re-won the election that he snorts himself into oblivion? and it's more likely that his son's going to do that. But his son is Donald Trump Jr. is a lot younger, so he's got a lot more cocaine to do in his life. But my understanding of Don Jr. is that that man has done so much cocaine that when he sneezes, a dealer pops out. When they sent him to Iceland, his father's like, Don Jr., I want you to go to Iceland. We've got some things for you to do. Make it look as if the Icelandies want us to annex their country. And he goes, but Dad, what's in Iceland? Snow, son. Lots and lots of snow. Snow? I'm there! And he runs off and runs to the plane and takes Trump Force One to Iceland, and then Secret Service agent turns to Donald Trump and says, "I don't think he thinks it's the kind of snow you're talking about." And Donald Trump goes, I know, but it got him to go, and let's be honest, he's gonna snort it anyway." So if there's no more snow in Iceland, it's because Don Jr. was there. Bear left me, but Roman's still here. Oh. Really put down a lot of Whoppers lately. Have you noticed that? Burger King is actually a dying brand. And that's sad because, well, I don't know. I've never actually been treated very well at Burger King. But for those of you who wanted to see, there is the Whopper, Halloween Whopper. This is the one I actually ate that turned my poop green. So if any of you wanted proof, yes, I actually did eat the Whopper that turns your poop green. You know, there's a closer look at the bun there. I consume that in store. Uh, Burger King Impossible Whopper, Fiery Bacon Whopper, Ghost Pepper Whopper. Pictures here are smaller because at this point I've learned to Photoshop a little bit better, and it's easier to upload small pictures. All right, so we're questing the hour mark, and there are only 4 people watching. So an hour is a good round number. I normally do 2 hours, but then I've only done this 3 times, and 2 of them were 2 hours, and one of them was 1 hour. So how many of you want me to keep going? That's a question. I mean, some of you have work to do. I guess most of you probably have something that's more fun to do than watch me. So, you guys want me to keep going? You want me to stop? 59 minutes. I'm not getting any answers here. I'm thinking that stop. Um, if any of you would like to, what's a good time for me to be doing these? Look, I'm applying for, or I'm going to a job interview tomorrow. NGO. Dan, you're now the only one watching. So yeah, I'm thinking everybody left. I mean, Dan, if you got any questions, this would be the time because I can see there's two people watching them, and one of them is me. 10 minutes more. Okay, well, what do you want me to talk about? One more question. All right, let's hear it. Any day. Dan left. All right, so the original Superman TV. What is going on? What about the original Superman TV show? I mean, did you know the original Superman TV show had one suit for promotional pictures and one suit for filming? Yes, I did watch it. Or well, I watched the black and white. I don't know if that's the original. The original may have been a serial or a silent serial that debuted during the Second World War. Superheroes were essentially a product of the 30s, and we were coming out of the Depression, as I recall. And what happened was that somebody took a comics from a Sunday newspaper, pulled it out of the newspaper, and slapped a 5 cent sticker on it, and he just sold that. Did you ever know the aliens that came out with the gun? The gun were actually Electrolux canister vacuum cleaners. I was not aware of that, but no, our watchership has lifted. Lowell forever working now. Uh, so as I was saying, a guy at a newspaper stand pulled the comics out of a newspaper, slapped a price tag on it, and sold that. And that's how comics, as a standalone thing, started. And this was so popular that they started selling more comics than newspapers because the literacy level was not as high as it was before, but more and more people were reading because that was a great activity during the Depression because you'd read a newspaper and there were always newspapers around. Reeves, the original something like Ben Reeves or something. I don't remember. I mean, look, I've watched a few episodes. I don't remember it. I do remember that the original Superman was a strong man. He was a bodybuilder or a weightlifter, and that's because that was the whole thing about him is that he had the actual strength to portray Superman in a world without wire tricks. So, like there were times that the director would be like, "Hey, you look like you're straining there. We have to do it again." He goes, "I'm not really Superman. You need to give me some time to rest." So anyway, as I was saying, comics became so popular that they had to start reprinting old newspaper comics, and eventually they started printing comics exclusively as comics. And then, you know, prohibition was ended. So the mafia, who was putting a lot of money into alcohol, now they had money, but they had to invest it to keep that money going. So they left the more shady things like prostitution and drugs and moved into the comic industry, which is one of the ways that all those early comic companies got startups. The actor's name was George Reeves, and then when the movie came out, the actor's name was Christopher Reeves. They're not related. Coincidence? Yeah, I know. Like I say, I knew his name. I knew that they were both Reeves because Christopher Reeves was the Superman I know, but the original Reeves Uh, I mean, Nicolas Cage, his real name is Coppola. He's not Nicolas Cage. He's like Francis Ford Coppola's nephew or something. So that's how he got into acting. I can tell you, I have a profile on Central Casting, right? Central Casting is where most people get their extras. So every now and again, I get, a message from Central Casting saying, hey, are you available? And every time I say, yes, I'm available. And every damn time, they never call me the second time to actually have me go to work. And that would be nice right now because, I could use the money. I was surprised to see that there is indeed filming still going during the fires. One of the things, that they said on the news is the crazy part about it is that despite the fact that California is on fire, we're looking at the worst natural disaster in California history, which is not true, in my opinion, because Los Angeles as a city has been destroyed twice through flood. But that particular thing is, the fires are so localized that it's like, yes, a short drive from the fire, there's some dude at a Starbucks ordering coffee. And that's just one of those things about fire as opposed to, say, a tornado, is that in a tornado, you everything shuts down. The world is just being destroyed, and you don't know where it's going to be in the next 5 minutes. But in a fire, the fire tends to move out in a pattern, and it's like, the wind is blowing this way, so we know that the fire is probably going to be over where the wind is blowing. It's just one of those things. Looks like we ran out of Robot Monster commercials. The thing I dislike the most about the commercials is I'm giving somebody free commercial time, and I don't want to do that. Mayor LaGuardia used to read the comics to the kids on the radio in New York. Was not aware of that. I mean, look, from what I understand, the cinema was the media of the 30s, all right? And I don't know how it worked, but they had newsreels and all those sorts of things. You are now at 888 subs. Lucky for some. Yeah, look, I need watch hours. That's why I'm doing this. But anyway, so the cinema was the medium of the 30s, probably the 20s as well. The 30s was the time of the Great Depression, so the cinema may have suffered some. Then in the 1940s, the cinema was the first part of that decade. Then the radio became the central part of the home. And in fact, the first televisions were designed to plug into your radio for sound. This made them cheaper, but the picture was so small and the unit was so large that when they were unveiled at a trade show, people thought they were a joke. They feel like no one is going to want to watch this crap. It's too small, it's too unpleasant, and the quality isn't good. Well, World War II meant that there were no factories to make the television. So this is why television did not take off during World War II. And, you see, like, if you look at the Brave Little Toaster, they keep making references to President Roosevelt because the way President Roosevelt, Franklin Delano, if I'm not mistaken, FDR, yes, he addressed the nation through radio. That's how he gave people their news. That's how we heard our president. And as a basic thing, the radio. I mean, every house had a radio. The radio was this big, bulky item. It sat in your living room, and people would gather around the radio. And radio shows were a lot shorter at the time. In fact, there's some vintage Green Hornet that I or listened to, and that vintage Green Hornet was like 15-minute, 10-minute episodes. It's like the Green Hornet who was posing as he was a superhero that posed as a bad guy, and the episodes were so straightforward because they were so short, and that's just how that was. Nowadays, a standard television episode, I don't know about radio or radio programs, standard television episode is 22 minutes. That's why if you see 2020, you give us 22 minutes, we give you the world. That's why that is, because the other 8 minutes is commercial breaks. Hybrid TV radio sounds a bit like hybrid cars, which are dumber. Full electric cars are the go as long as it is not a Tesla. Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. Yeah, look, hybrid cars, they have their ups and downs. All right. The thing about a hybrid car is it fits into our current infrastructure, and even if you charge your car, because there are hybrids you can charge, you can then turn around and fill that tank and go a greater distance. So it's the best of both worlds and it's the worst of both worlds. That's the problem with hybrid. I mean, again, if I were a wealthy man, if I were a billionaire, I would have a car collection, right? And I wouldn't have a car collection of necessarily really nice cars. I would have a car collection of Saturns, just because it's something an eccentric billionaire would do. Now, Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. I'm sure you guys are all aware that War of the Worlds started as a book, right? And Orson Welles and Mercury Theater went out there and said, "Let's let's do a radio play based on War of the Worlds as a news show." And recently, somebody actually commented on a movie that I reviewed, Without Warning, which is sort of a remake of War of the Worlds. But I haven't looked too heavily into it, but apparently the hysteria over War of the Worlds was mostly just hype. TV, Kangaroo Island TV. I just drove my EV around Australia. It took 33 days to do 15,000 kilometers, and yes, I took a GoPro. Okay. Tell me something, Kangaroo Island TV. Is it really common in Australia for people to get offended if you don't pronounce something right? I mean, that's something, because I ran into a couple of books at my library, and they've been pulled from the shelves due to lack of popularity, that were, creation myths or mythology surrounding the indigenous peoples of Australia. And, I noticed that everybody just flipped out because my pronunciation wasn't very good. And then apparently in Australia, they consider the word aborigine to be a pejorative. It's considered an insult. So, is that really a thing, Kangaroo Island TV? I mean, if you call someone an aborigine, is that considered offensive? You ever heard of Tokyo Rose from World War II? No, I have not. Tokyo Rose. Tokyo Rose was a name given to a group of American speaking women who broadcast Japanese propaganda during World War II. The broadcasts were part of a psychological warfare campaign to demoralize American soldiers. Uh, one of the things my brother always commented about World War II was that the Japanese engaged in cannibalism. They would eat parts of the Americans in order to gain their resolve. Weird. My point is, you don't need a camera. We are generally hard to offend and quite tolerant. Aboriginal names are impossible to pronounce. Well, look, dude. I mean, I had somebody claiming to be a relative of the guy that wrote the books who, wrote me nasty comments. And I mean, I'm torn between the fact that, on the one hand, I should probably track down all those books and read them because they got a lot of views. And on the other hand, they got me a lot of flack. So, I mean, right now I'm actually surrounded by books. You would not believe how many books are in this room and in my house in general. And, one of the things about the job I'm applying for tomorrow is that I'm hoping I can bring books to work and read, which is one of the big problems I have is that I can't do that. So, or I had at my last job. So I mean, it's like if I find a job and it's not a job where I can sit and read, I keep looking for a job just as vigorously to find a job where I can sit and read. Because it's like you can work at a bank. It's a standing post, and you're gonna have to walk around all day. But it's like, oh dear God, Richard, would you ever consider going live and letting fans join the live stream video? Um, if I knew how to do that, yeah. And look, the reason I'm doing this on my phone is because the camera on my I have two laptops in this. Well, no, I have like six laptops in this room, but I have two laptops in this room with webcams. One of them, the webcam, for some reason, it kills the computer. The computer reboots every time I run the webcam, and the other one is it just doesn't have a very good quality webcam. So, I mean, again, I would love to have live events, and you really need to do that, stream from your computer. That's a thing, but it's just, I need to get monetized. I need to make money. Everything costs money. One thing I actually wanted to do, I was talking to a friend about, was I wanted to have a Pog tournament. Pogs are a thing from like the 90s. And I mean, back in the day, everybody had Pogs. Everybody had Pogs. Pogs are now really expensive because, um, you know, they're no longer a thing. So I mean, I'm sure somebody's making Pogs, but you can go online and you can purchase blank Pogs. So I actually was talking with a friend. I wanted to do a Pog tournament where I basically went to my old college, which is in Orange County, and post a thing saying, "Hey, are you a hot chick comfortable in a bikini? We want to pay you to be in a Pog tournament." But I mean, his take on it was, "We got to take you to Vegas and get you laid." And I was like, "No, I just want to film a bunch of hot chicks to try and, you know, make videos people actually watch. Best of luck at your interview tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, oh, I need a job. Much as I love doing this, it's not a job. Okay, this is not going to be a job. Maybe there will be a miracle. And for all of you who watch this, for all of you who are fans of this channel, there's a reason I say in every video, comment, like, and subscribe. If you don't like the video, the more you interact with me, the more YouTube thinks a video is worth sharing. So it's getting out there and sharing a video that's going to make the difference. And I mean, I cannot tell you just how miserable my working experience has been. I was with my first company back in the 90s for 4 years, but I had to fight with them because they kept putting me at account. I was a stupid young man. I didn't think just get another job. I had to fight with them because they kept putting me at accounts where I couldn't make enough money. And then when I finally made enough money, I killed my kidneys and got too sick to work. Right? With my next company for maybe 6 months before they were bought out, and mishandled paperwork left me unemployed again. Okay, and then my third company, I was there for 7 years. All right. After college, which I mean, they laid me off right before I graduated. I was with another company for 4 years. I was injured on duty, and being injured on duty, they wanted me gone because it was a liability. Company after that, they were not going to pay medical insurance. So I lost that job in 90 days so they wouldn't have to pay medical insurance. The company after that, you know, uh, I'm starting to lose sight of which one was which. That one, I think they tried to strong arm me into a shift I didn't want. So, I mean, that's a common problem I have. Again, company after that, my first shift, something got stolen. It wasn't my fault, but they blamed me. I mean, it wasn't even the area I was supposed to be working. So I was only with them for 2 days, but on the books I was with them for 4 years because, they didn't officially remove me from the system, but they wouldn't give me any work. So I was on their ish list there. Now the company after that, I was with them for 5 years. Frozen Fox. Good morning. It's 4:30 in Germany. It's 7:30 in Los Angeles p.m. So as I was saying, the company after that, I was with them for 5 years, and they haven't technically fired me, but I'm pretty sure they've removed me from the active list. But I mean, in the middle of that employment, I went out there, got a completely different job. I was injured on that job, and then they found a reason to get rid of me there. So I went back to the previous company, where apparently they were, it's like I emailed them in the morning, I was working that evening. Then they tried to strong arm me into a shift I didn't want. And that's where I am with my current company, who I'm literally going to an interview with my current company to see if they'll put me on another job. Just came back from work at 4:30 in the morning. What is it you do, Frozen Fox? I mean, do you do anything cool or interesting? The viewer count keeps going up and down. We got down to 1 and we're now up to 7. At 84 minutes. I guess you in America would call it paperboy, but it's much different here in Germany. Um, yeah, the old paper route thing. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it's the most comparable thing, but how is it different in German? Do you deliver the papers to the store as well? I mean, that's one of those things in one of the books I read, which was based on a true story. The Bundelspost, not only did the Bundelspost take care of the mail, but they also took care of the phones. So I don't know if that's still a thing, if Germany still has state-run phone lines, but um, includes much more than newspaper. So you're sort of a delivery boy that delivers newspapers. I mean, what else do you deliver? That's always my question. I would love to learn German. You know that. If for no other reason, then I would actually love to read textbooks from other countries. I mean, it's one of the things that I would actually really enjoy doing. Kangaroo Island TV. My first job was as a paper boy in Johannesburg. Then I studied journalism in Colorado and have been a small town newspaper reporter all my life. What newspaper do you work for, Kangaroo Island TV? I mean, wouldn't mind reading a few articles. I do a lot of. I mean, if I can, you know, I'm at the stage in YouTube where subscribers are one step away from being friends, and some friends are subscribers. So that always happens. I need to tear apart this rig. I replaced this monitor a couple months ago, and I love the Samsungs. It's newer, it's lighter, it's bigger, but just the old one was wired into the system, and I know that my cats have pooped back in behind this computer because I had one that she'd go out there and she'd pee back there, and the pee would come dripping out by the front here. So you know that's just one of those things. Kangaroo Island TV. The Islander on Kangaroo Island is in South Australia. I graduated from the University of Colorado in Boulder. It's like an under division of the post office. Okay, yes, Frozen Fox, under division of the post office is what he does. Okay, yeah, all right, cool. Magda Kozakraska, Little Monsters. Yes, my cats really can be. We're all behind a paywall these days, so no read my article, sorry, but you can still check out the website to see what kind of stories I put out. Uh, yeah, okay. I mean, you don't have free content? Not everyone is behind a paywall, but most people aren't. That is a thing. The newspaper is a dying genre, and one of the things people are saying is, what are we going to do to line our bird cages if we don't have newspaper? And I think that there should always be a certain printing of news because they still make vinyl records, and vinyl records are kind of making a comeback as a hipster thing. But I was actually in high school. I I was a journalist, a photojournalist. I mean, I was the head photo editor for the newspaper, the school newspaper, for like 2 years, I think. And what happened? I think, look, there was a friend of mine who was the photo editor for the newspaper because the other photo editor quit or something, and so he was the guy. And then he was having trouble, so I started helping him out. And the teacher just says, "I'm having trouble figuring out what's going on here. I see the two of you, and I just see a giant mass." And I said, "He's the photo editor. I'm the assistant photo editor." The next year, I was the photo editor, and I remained the photo editor and the executive editor until I graduated. Have a great night. Heading to bed. Good luck tomorrow. Where do you live? I live in LA. The fires are apparently under control, and we're not out of the woods, but we can see the clearing. So, Chris, clearly, just do me a favor, bro. Mention those cocktails in a few videos so I remember them. All right? Frozen Fox, I lost a lot of subscribers because people who still subscribe to the newspaper are old people and they are dying. Uh, yeah, the physical newspaper is not as much of a thing anymore. And I mean, on the one hand, I think it's better for the environment not to make newspapers, but on the other hand, you know, we had companies sitting on warehouses full of newsprint that weren't selling because people weren't using recycled. So, will do. Good luck. Be safe. Yeah. Um, keeping an eye on those fires. The wind is blowing again. It could resurge. So, keeping an eye on those fires. Anyway, 8 of us now. Come on, guys. The point of me being here is to answer your questions. There's 8 of you. Somebody's got to have some kind of a question for me. I saw a video of people who deliberately setting fires. Yeah, that is a thing that happened. There was a certain level of arson involved in the fires. Look, most of the wildfires we deal with are man made, okay? The issue there being is that before human beings, most wildfires were lightning strikes. That's what started the fire. Now, most wildfires in California have something to do with people. It may be that a homeless person started the fire to keep warm, or a power line dropped, uh, or something of that nature. But obviously we didn't have any wind, or we didn't have any lightning in the Santa Ana winds. So that's the thing, is that these fires are indeed a product of humanity. If it weren't for people, there would not have been a fire. Oh, I've gotten a comment on one of my videos. Hey, have any of you guys been checking out my trailer reactions on this channel? The Yes, This Is a Movie series. Kangaroo TV, or Island TV. Palisades fire apparently came from New Year's celebration, and the Ayton fire was from power lines. Fires will start. The problem is they are going to get worse and more frequent. Okay, the power lines, yes. The New Year's celebration, no. Uh, People are saying that's a possibility. It is really unlikely for something to be sitting around that long and smoldering. I mean, like you're almost a week into the new year and then the fire's still going. It's not a huge possibility. Flat World, have you ever looked into it or the supposed moon landing? Yes, I have. I've looked into both. NASA has checked our world is not flat. If our world was flat, the cats would have knocked everything off by now. Hollow Earth, punk rock. Again, that's not a possibility. I mean, is it possible somewhere there are large caverns in the earth that could hold life? Well, not only is it possible, it's definite, but that life is tends to be non-vertebrates. So, like, we did find a cavern that had been blocked off from the rest of the world for years, and we found leeches and spiders and things, and we found bacteria was eating the limestone and making the cavern bigger, and that was what was fueling the ecosystem. But do understand that the original idea of the hollow earth was that there was another earth inside the earth, and there were layers, and God had somehow provided them with light. Also, more and more people living in the under wildfire interface. Yes, things can smolder that long. It has happened before. It's possible. It's just unlikely. I mean, we caught somebody intentionally setting fires in that area, so it's not like. I mean, somebody said it was a conspiracy, but the Earth. I only heard of a hollow moon. Okay, hollow Earth theory has been around a while, actually, and it was a thing where they believed that inside the Earth there was another Earth, and that because Earth had been created by God, that there would be a source of light, and there would be life down there. So this is a theory that pervades for quite a while. But you see, modern geology says that we know what's inside the Earth, and it's mostly solid rock. The Earth's surface is churned, so very deep in the Earth we do find fossils. But the largest of the large caverns probably isn't all that large by comparison. So yeah, I mean the hollow moon thing is that the moon was hit by something once, and they said it rang like a bell, and I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. But I mean I haven't looked too much into it. If the government allows the people to rebuild, don't you think all the buildings should be made out of cement and have metal roofs? Okay, um, metal can burn. That's what rust is. So a metal roof is not necessarily a good thing. Modern fire standards will stop the fires. Modern houses are less likely to burn, and we've increased the standards for all that time. You stepped up the video quality compared to the last stream. Nice. Frozen Fox, I am streaming on my phone. I mean, I tried streaming on my computer, and the computer is old and not working well. So, and that was, I remember. I don't know if you were on that stream. I guess you were, but or, yeah, you had to have been on that particular stream. But what happened with that was actually that the computer lost its internet connection. It was not that it ran out of battery power; it just died. The internet connection, and I was waiting for it to reboot, and it didn't. So that that was the problem. Uh, So yeah, guys, the future of this channel is uncertain. And the future is uncertain because it depends very heavily on what I can make work, if I can get profit out of it. It's just one of those things. This is a hobby. I enjoy doing it, but the things I do are going to depend largely on you guys and how involved you are. And that's just the thing. So, I would really like to get a better computer, and this would mean that you wouldn't have to watch this vertical video. It would also mean that I'd have to clean this room up a bit more because you'd see more of the room. And you wouldn't believe the kind of weird stuff I have sitting around the desk. I actually have some medicated cream because one of my cats has a wound on his neck, and he comes and he sits in my lap, and then I put the cream on him, and he looks at me with his angry little eyes and runs away. But the wound is healing, although it was quite large, and I think a dog bit him. Looks like it just clipped him with a canine, and he had this wound on his neck that wasn't very large, but it got infected and it had a big reservoir of pus inside, and then he broke it open. My place is a mess. I have depression too. Dude, your place is probably not as much of a mess as my place. I mean, but do understand that, I'm depressed and I live with a horde of cats that I need to find homes for. So, but it's not abnormal to be depressed. A lot of people are depressed right now. The world is terrible. Dude, I went to the store. I said, I'm out of eggs. I'm going to go to the store. And I went to the store, and eggs are normally like $4 for 1 1/2 dozen, like 18 eggs. And it was like $9 for a dozen eggs. And I was like, I don't need eggs that badly. Being a food blogger, I actually have a very large assortment. Who is nibbling at my leg? I have a very large assortment of food. It's a big black cat. And she is not happy. Oh, she is not happy. Yes, prices have almost doubled in Germany, especially in groceries. Yeah, that's the world. Kangaroo Island TV. Protectionism is going to make inflation a lot worse. Donald Trump is going to make inflation a lot worse in America, and a lot of other countries are probably going to follow suit. Yeah, Luna's not that cuddly. One of my cats, one of the ones I love to pet the most is named Isolde, and she's really pretty. She's this beautiful silver tabby. But every time I go to snuggle her, she's like, "No, no, don't snuggle me, don't snuggle me." And she's slowly getting used to the concept of being a pet cat. But uh, with the number of animals I have, it's harder to socialize them, which is kind of the problem. That's what I'm. Look, Kangaroo Island TV. Look, Australia. It's a beautiful place, and there are lots of wonderful and incredible things in Australia that want to kill you. And this idea that America is an island is stupid. You know, we should try to be a more unified world, not a less unified world. Frozen Fox. I have a dog. I used to have a cat, but the shredded my furniture. Yeah, cats do that. I mean, I have scratching posts, but they still shred my furniture. Not that my furniture is all that great. But as I was saying, um, a lot of wonderful things in Australia, and we as Americans should be a example of what to do, not what not to do. We should not be levying more tariffs. We should not be insulting other countries. I don't know if I'll get a pet again, maybe something out in the future. I don't know, Rockstar 92. What kind of a pet would you get? Could always get yourself a fish. But interesting thing, did you know that there are religions that have cropped up because of the American forces that went to Australia? Yes, there's the Tom From religion. When I see these only in Australia videos on X, I get terrified. Well, I mean, everything in Australia wants to kill you. In America, in America, a lot of people go around killing rattlesnakes, and they shouldn't because rattlesnakes are good for the environment. And for the most part, you see, we Americans are extremely stupid, and you can tell that by who we elect in our government. But one of the things about rattlesnakes is that they tend to leave you alone. People get bit because they pick them up. So, if you see a rattlesnake, don't kill it. Leave it alone, and it'll leave you alone. Have a great evening. Keep us posted tomorrow. My furry kid needs a walk. Night all. All right, dude, make sure you clean up the poo. I used to have this 105-pound dog. Well, my brother had him. And every now and again, my brother would feed him too many bones and he'd have boneria. So he'd be pooping out bones and pissed my brother off something fierce, And one day he walks up to the dog, right? And he goes, "Are you inviting other dogs to come poop in the backyard when I'm not looking?" You know, thing was a giant poop factory, but oh, I miss my August. And my brother wouldn't stop calling him Augie. I know that it was the name that the original owner gave him, but the original owner didn't take good care of him, so I thought Augie was a stupid name. I feel a hell of a lot safer in Australia than anywhere else. Most people here live in an urban setting anyway, with no interaction with wildlife. Humans are doing their best to wipe out biodiversity, and it sucks. Augie, yeah, well, the story of the dog is that almost everyone in this story is dead. My father's, or my stepmother's boyfriend was living in the house with my father, and my stepmother was like, "You need to make some money," and he said, "Well, I'm a dog breeder. We can go get a cheap dog and I can breed it. We'll get a stud. Nobody looks at the stud. So, if it has bad puppies, I'll just kill the puppies." So they went and they got this dog with level 4 dysplasia. One of his legs was completely dislocated. And this is all happening at a children's daycare. No, I never worked at Arby's. And so at this children's daycare, they got this big black monster of a dog, and the children named it Augie Doggy. All right. So in the meantime, the stepmother let the boyfriend drive the husband's car, and the husband kicked the boyfriend out. So this left the stepmother looking for a new boyfriend. So she went out whoring. I mean, this chick was so nasty. Her camel toe nearly touched her cleavage. I mean, it's like, ugh. So she went out whoring and she didn't feed the dog, and it broke out one day and jumped on one of the kids, and that's how it ended up at my house. Talking about weird name, Stopsel, with roughly translates to plug, which is German in the nickname you give cute little children. Mm-hmm. I mean, I heard a popular name for dog in Germany is Teufel. Do you know who Jiden is? No. Dylan Triblood Jiden, or no. No, I don't know who that is. You never heard Teufel as a name for a dog? Yeah, I mean the American Marines call themselves the Devil Dogs because there was a famous German battle in World War II where there was a bayonet charge, and apparently the Germans heard them growling, and they began to call the American Marines Teufelhunden, Devil Dogs. That's where the name comes from. Dylan, who's Jaden, he catches PDFs now. Mm. Devil Dog snacks are so good. I've never tried them. We now have Scooby snacks. You can get Scooby snacks, which is weird because if you there's a bodybuilder named Scooby who's also weird. Interesting, yeah, I guess Doberman. Yes, August was my Doberman. Ugh. I remember I had him. I had a friend over one day, and the dog starts crying, and he looks at me and he goes, "Richard, your dog is gay." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. Well, that's fine. Let him be gay." You look like you're constantly building your body. Have you guys seen my fitness jokes? That could be one of them. They're terrible. How long have we been doing this now? Almost 2 hours. And my phone keeps giving me updates. I don't know what it's doing here. Get it fitness. I can go for an alcoholic beverage soon on a road trip back to Florida. Couldn't we all right now? And there was a point where I didn't want to drink because I was afraid I was going to have to leave my house. And I mean, it turned out that that was a false alarm from the government. Damn right. Yeah. And I sat there and I thought, I don't want to be drunk and drive. But I looked at where the fire was and I was like, I don't think it's coming for me. I just don't. All right, guys. So are we winding down? Because I thought we were wound down before, but there seems to be 7 of you, but not a lot of you are talking. And when is for those of you who are still here, like Frozen Fox, what is a good time to do this sort of thing? Because I mean, I'm thinking I'm going to start doing this daily. I might have like my morning coffee. Uh, Maybe do this for a half an hour or something. I don't know. I mean, what's a good amount of time? 6:10. Is that 6:10 California time or is it 6:10 Florida time? I agree. Yeah, look, I mean, I think the afternoon Florida time. Yeah. Uh, the question being, how often should I do this, and how much does it help the channel? You know, we have two hard limits here, and those are, I need the watch time, and I need the maybe every other day. I don't know, bro. Maybe I should take a break every now and again. Be like, okay, we'll do an hour, then we'll come back maybe 15 minutes later, and like do it on a Sunday or something. It's 2:30 p.m. on Friday in South Australia right now, so now is a good time. See, that's the thing is, you guys are all over the world. You have to give it a break, but also keep a schedule for people to look forward to. Ever heard of Happy Cabby? No. No, I have not heard of that, Dylan. Yeah, well, I mean, theoretically speaking, if this is a worldly thing, um, you would schedule, let's just say I'm going to do 4 of them a week, all right? 2 of them would be on my off days from work, and one would be like right before when my shift would start. The other one would be right after my shift would end, but on my off day. And you'd want them to be at different times, so that everybody could watch them. Everybody could have at least one a week that they're like, this is the one. Kangaroo Island TV twice a week unless you have a reason. Get a microphone and do a live streams from somewhere out and about, like Santa Monica Pier. I'm a security officer, Dylan, or at least I was. I mean, currently not working, but currently technically employed. I have 2 jobs currently, actual jobs where if I work, I get money. One of them is as a actor with Central Casting. The other one is as a security officer. So, if they call me, I go to work. They could call me tonight. Technically speaking, either of those companies could call me tonight. I don't believe they will, but they could. What have you been enacting wise? Absolutely nothing. They don't call me. I mean, I went, I registered. They paid me to be there and register, and I've never gotten a job with Central Casting. I mean, if you look at my IMDb, there's stuff there, obviously. Not much. I mean, I'm a writer and I'm an actor, and I've been on Absurd TV, which is another YouTube channel. But the issue with that was, you know, I just it wasn't becoming a paycheck. It was something I just did for fun, and it was like, yeah, it's not that much fun, and if I'm going to work on any channel, I should work on my own. The Rode Postcaster is an excellent microphone if you look for one. Uh, Look, this channel isn't even monetized. I probably should be live streaming on a channel where I can make money, and I might do that. So, uh, you know, suggestions for microphones would probably come if this channel makes money. And that's when I start doing things like Santa Monica Pier or wherever have you. Ever thought of streaming games like PC, PS5, Xbox? There is an automatic audience there. Uh, okay. I'm not a big video gamer. I play mostly real time strategy, which is why uh, I've never tried that, and I haven't played real time strategy in like years. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, I have World of War. No, I have Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2, and Command and Conquer sitting up on the shelf over there. And I haven't taken them out of their boxes in years. Haven't played them. You know, it's just one of those things where it's a format I haven't gotten together. And I mean, how long would it take for me? I don't know. I don't know enough about streaming, and I'm not good at video games. So, you guys want to watch me get the heck snot kicked out of me at a video game? Okay, well, why would you do that? Also, reaction streamers, again, there's an audience, and you can react to anything politics, music, whatever it may be. Yeah, I believe Absurd TV is doing reaction to politics now. That's what I mean. I can't even look at that dude or hear his voice because it was just such a annoying situation. But you know, like yeah, if I had a friend who was a gamer, I might do well uh, watching his video games. But I mean, I don't have friends who are gamers anymore. I don't go to people's houses and hang out anymore. Literally, when I'm not at work, I'm sitting at this computer pounding out whatever it is I'm pounding out. I loved RTS back in the day. Yeah, I mean, I believe there's some RTS for the movie or for the franchise for the Alien franchise, and I've wanted to play that, but once again, you guys got to realize I am a really miserable gamer. So RTS, real time strategy. So games like Command and Conquer, StarCraft, Warcraft, that's RTS, real time strategy. I don't know what ARC is. Yeah, all good, Richard. No need to games. Saturated industry anyway. Yeah, well, YouTube's saturated too. The only thing is I'm set up for YouTube. In one of you videos, you made a little room tour. There was a trophy with a thespian I never heard the word. Thespian? Yes. Um, the first actor in Greek history was Thespis. And the Thespian Society is basically, as a high schooler, you become a thespian. All right. And, that's what happened. I became a thespian. Ark like Noah's Ark. Yeah, Dylan, I still don't know what you're talking about with Ark. Is that a type of game? The Thespian Society it's like in acting, you don't tell people you were a thespian because it dates you. But thespians are live stage actors, not film actors. So yes, in high school, I was in a number of plays. I played Jonathan in Arstic and Old Lace. I think that was my only major role. Thinking back, I can't remember. I mean, I was in a show called Aladdin where I played a guard. There was a show called The Language of Flowers where I played the Angel of Death. You're in prehistoric times and you really gotta grind it out for days and weeks and months. My phone is giving me weird notifications. You can tame dinos and stuff. Dude, this is Caramel, by the way. He's my oldest cat. And I would very much like to eat dinos because they're like giant chickens. By the way, love the film behind you. I think I've seen it and show Mystery Science Theater 3000. You don't even know what this film is. Let's look here. Lost Continent. Yes. I put stuff in the background here to make it look more interesting. I've never seen black and white TV before. This is green and white TV, dude, or green and black TV, dude. I mean, it's a color screen. Okay, we are at 2 hours. This is so that's as long as these things tend to be. Uh, any of you want to vote on whether we should keep doing this? Hey, dude, that's fine, up to 9, whatever have you. But the question always being, are you guys bored? Caramel, how did my keyboard get wet? Did you slobber on it? Yeah, keep doing it. It's more of a do we keep talking? I mean, there are 9 people in the chat. You guys are all watching. I'm not tired. I've actually slept already today. I'm about to make myself breakfast. Bob, I have an idea. What's your idea, Bob? Wait, it's only 9, ain't it? It's 8:15 here. Well, in general, I mean, you can go to bed if you want. I'm not going to bed after this. I'm going to be working on videos, working on my celebrity shoutouts for tomorrow, as soon as I'm done with this. And I'll be taking the trash cans in. If you, for you to save the ocean, I'm already trying that, Bob. How shall I save the ocean? Kangaroo Island TV. Thanks, Richard. I vote for more live streams. Good luck getting your watch hours. Yeah. Oh, now there's 10 of you. Nuclear power, ocean, thermal energy. There's enough energy in the ocean. When's the next episode? I think I need to get. I don't know, dude. I mean, I woke up. I'm experimenting. When is a good time for the next episode? Who are you? What are you? I'm an insane fat man trying to save the world. Hydration comedy. Yeah, I should do more of those. What do you identify as? A male. I am Manzilla. The subscriber or the watch count keeps going up. There are more people watching now. Here after we've been here for 2 hours. It went down to 11. Okay, Cali people are weird. Just had to ask. Well, look, I've told this story before, but I was working at a homeless shelter one day, and this person with a big long beard, they were like 6'2". They were taller than me, deep voice. Are your pronouns he, just so we don't confuse you for pronouns? Yes, my pronouns are he, Manzilla. So this person walks in, long beard, deep voice, really tall, rather thin, and I look at the roster and I notice this person is in a female room. And I look up and I look down and I look up and I say, "Do you identify as female?" And they go, "Well," and I said, "Look, I just need a pronoun. It's paperwork. I need a pronoun." And this person says, "Yes, I identify as female." And I go, "Okay, you know, welcome home, young lady." And from that point forward, I referred to that person as young lady whenever they came in. And do understand something. There have been people who have gone through gender reassignment and decided it wasn't a good idea. You need to review the best movie, if all time, Sharknado. Dude, I reviewed Clown NATO. Is that not good enough for you? Clown NATO was a lot of fun. I've actually seen all the Sharknado films, I think, but I haven't reviewed them. But as I was saying, there are people that have gone through. Yeah, Clown NATO, it's a thing. I have never seen Johnny Sins. Should I? I mean, I have a really long watch list. So, my really long watch list, you would think I'd be just plowing through it at this point, but I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to watch the new Nosferatu. I have a screener, but it's just not interesting to me. He's a man of all trades. Pretty interesting. Man of all trades, master of none. William Defoe is awesome in the new Nosferatu. I haven't really gotten to his part. What's the blackest thing you've ever done? Um, I have not seen the Omega Code. Klaus Kinski was the best. Yes, he probably was. The blackest thing I had ever done was as a vocalist, I sang a version of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. And it was the jazz version. So it was, or no, no. What was the name of that song? It was Christmas music. I remember that. And then there was this one part. Oh, go and tell it on the mountain. Go and tell it on the mountain. Go on and tell it on the mountain. Jesus Christ is born. Yeah, I sing bass, right? And there was this girl named Nisi, big girl from the south, sweetest thing you'd ever want to meet. Great safe answer pass with flying colors, sir. Okay. Dylan, do you happen to be of the darker skin variety? Anyway, so there was sup Richard. What's up, Michael? And we're just hanging out. I've got a big orange cat on my lap. There's his tail, and we're just hanging out. So, as I said, there was this girl from the south. Her name was Nisi. I think she was a soprano, and she looks over at me and she goes, "You sound like my daddy." And yeah, Caramel here. I actually have been at the vet and said, "Don't hiss at people, Caramel." That's why I call you Caramel. You're supposed to be my sweet old boy. But anyway, so and then this other guy who was Mexican, but he was a dark Mexican, and he referred to himself as a Blaxican because of his darkness. And he looks at me and he goes, "Richard, it's laid back groove, not laid black groove." That was like, it's a Jewish thing, bro. So yes, blackest thing I ever done was a performance of "Go and Tell It on the Mountain." I thought because of the color, he is a cold caramel. Um, yeah, Litcham Richard. Well, I mean, he's caramel colored and sweet. Go watch the Henrietta and Marna version of "Go and Tell It on the Mountain." Eh, look, I'm not into Christmas music, but yeah, look, what what happened was that I used to be friends with a particular gentleman. He was a Lutheran, and I used to buy coffee from him. And he had this big cat called Carmel, not caramel, Carmel. And I slept at his house a couple of times. I'd sleep on the couch, and Carmel would just wrap himself around my face. And I loved Carmel so much that when I got an orange cat, I then named him Caramel because he was not Carmel, which was their cat, who I believe was still alive at the time. He was Caramel. So this is my Caramel. And as you can see, he is indeed a very sweet boy. Okay, we're down to 7. I don't know what I'm even calling out these watch numbers for. The question always being, how many people need to be watching for me to keep going? That's the question. I mean, 7 is a solid enough number, but I'm not getting a lot of things to react to here. I could go until this movie. Down to 6. That is indeed a sweet cat. Well, yeah, he's purring. I'm rubbing his ear. He likes it. He really likes it when I rub his ear here. See, um, most mammals, at least, have colonies of yeast in their ear, and that can cause a certain level of itching. So he just absolutely loves it when I rub his ear because that moves all that around, and it's like it's a mild itch getting scratched. But I've had him since he fit in the palm of my hand. Okay, we're down to 5. What do you think, guys? Are we done, or you still want to keep talking? Up to 6. Like I say, this is as much about you as it is about me. I would keep this streaming until I got my 4,000 watch hours, if I could. Bob, how many bands would you eat a day if you were a monkey? Bananas. Depends on the kind of monkey. Monkeys are smaller than gorillas, but if you give a monkey a lot of bananas, they'll eat until they throw up. Like humans, if you rub your earlobes, it supposedly lower your heart rate. Really? Mm. There was actually a diet at one point where you got a surgical staple put in your ear, and you were supposed to stroke the staple whenever you were hungry. And the reason they don't do that anymore is because people got infected earlobes. So the ear is a very interesting thing. In fact, the reason most pirates are depicted as having earrings is because piercing the ear is supposed to increase or better the eyesight. There goes caramel. And the reason most pirates have eye patches is not because they injured their eye, but because they keep one eye in darkness for when they go below deck. I am full of useless information. You would not believe. Just can talk for hours, spreading the junk there. There was one time again at the homeless shelter. I worked the front desk, so there were these two young men coming in like a Snapple cap. Yes, a giant fat Snapple cap. There were these two gentlemen coming in, and I checked their bags and all, and I cleared them to enter. And one of them says, I'm just going to sit here and talk to Richard. And the other one goes, I was going to talk to Richard. And I was like, there's no reason you can't both talk to me. But do understand something that there was a time in my life I thought I was going to be a counselor. I thought I was going to be a mental health counselor. And it turned out that that was just too expensive. I didn't have the money, and I couldn't get through it. And I was having so many troubles with my studies because I was just too mentally damaged. You know, Even now I have difficulty sleeping if I don't have my medication. So, that kind of fell through. But I've always had an incredibly uh, great ability to listen to people, but I've always had the great ability to talk, which, they say in Ireland, this is a man who's kissed the Blarney Stone. And there's a castle that holds the Blarney Stone. Prozac, not Trazodone. And, Irishmen can tell great stories. It's just, I've never actually been able to tell great stories, but I've got a huge, ridiculous level of facts that just buzz around my brain at all times. And the reason for this is that it's believed that because of the trauma I've suffered to the skull, that my brain has created abnormally long axons. So there's a huge connection between the parts of my brain. So I relate things to other things, and therefore, this causes me to have a stronger memory. Are there any numbers bigger than Google? Yes. Yes, Bob. There are many numbers bigger than Google. There are an infinite numbers bigger than Google. Uh, somebody commented on my bidet video. Billy the Kidder. I have a bacon fries that I named bidet. Weird. Okay. What is your take on artificial eye? Artificial intelligence could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. It's how you use it. Facts, but are there any names for those such numbers? I don't know. Now, look, I wrote a short story that has not been published called Digital Indifference. And in Digital Indifference, this woman who is an executive for a toy company is contacted to find out why a toy company or why the factory has stopped making toys. And the factory has been automated for years. And so her attendant robot washes her in her living room and dresses her and gets her into her car. And she drives through Los Angeles. And the place is deserted. The largest city, or one of the largest cities on earth, is totally deserted. And just the whole time, the she's like, "Where are all the people?" And her robot butler there says, "Well, they're most people don't even own cars anymore." And she's like, "Well, when I watch the movies, there are always cars on the streets of Los Angeles." And he said, "Yeah, we generate movies through AI, and they took those samples back when AI was in its infancy. So there are no jobs for people in Los Angeles. So most of these buildings are empty, and they pass cars where the tires are flat and just everything's forgotten. And they get to the factory, and they walk to the factory, and of course there's no workers, so the lawn's not being kept anymore, and the security robots are all broken, and they get to the main control room, and you know she asked the main computer there, why is the factory not producing toys? And the computer says every store is fully stocked, every dock is fully stocked, every truck is fully stocked. There is literally just no more place for us to put the toys we make. No one is buying them. There's no one left. And what they find out is that humanity has entered a barter system where they're living in these little ramshackle towns, and no one can buy their product because nobody has any money. And she just sits there and she looks at the computer and she goes, "You mean society fell and nobody noticed?" It's like, yeah, digital indifference. AI is terrifying. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference. Yeah, I mean, it is not beyond the possibility for somebody to take the videos I've made, the live streams I've made, and feed it into the right AI and create a version of me who is always streaming. You know, it's not impossible for that to happen. And I mean, Snoops is common for debunking AI images. And I mean, I remember I saw these shorts. I saw these AI shorts where they showed these nightmare sea creatures, and at first they looked real, but then you look at the nightmare sea creatures, and it's impossible um, for those things to be real. I don't think I can find one, but you know, it's impossible for many of those things to be real. Right. So there's one. What tab am I using? All right. Okay, so there's like a millipede from the sea or something, and it's just that thing cannot be real. All right, I know that thing cannot be real from my understanding of biology. The first one is a four-legged critter, but and these are apparently all AI generated things. And yeah, it's scary how lifelike these things look like. It's going to be to the point where you can go out there and you can just tell your computer, I want to watch a Batman movie where Batman, fights Osama bin Laden, and the computer's just going to be able to do that for you. So I mean, that's the future, and yeah, it's scary because it takes the art out of things. Would be great for the dead man switch you mentioned. Yeah. Um, for those of you that don't know, a dead man switch is a switch that keeps the safety in some manner when somebody dies. I originally heard it associated with railroads, and I have what we call the dead man point, which is the point where I post something, um, so that even if I died, it would still be eventually available. And I mean, like I say, I think I have. This is space probe Taurus, by the way. I think I have something like 70 videos uh, ready to post that haven't been posted. They've been uploaded, so it's just one of those things. All right. Also, in nuclear warfare, so the nukes get launched even when the people in charge die. Yeah, that's largely a myth. Okay, one of the things about nuclear warfare is that nuclear weapons, particularly the Russian variety, need to be maintained. So it's really likely that if Russia wanted to attack America with nuclear weapons, that their nuclear weapons just wouldn't work. I mean, I wouldn't want to try it, but that's the thing. Nuclear weapons don't have the value they used to, and they're not. Most of them are just old. I mean, remember these things were built back in like the '60s or maybe the '80s, and well, not the '80s for Russia because that's when the Soviet Union broke down. So they're old. They're not as functional as they used to be. Down to six. We're at 2.5 hours now. So I mean, are you guys tired of me yet? They're just for intimidation. Yeah, I mean, we had the nuclear proliferation treaty. One of the things you see a lot if you look at the American airplane boneyard is there are a lot of bombers that have had major structural damage. And the reason for that was because of nuclear non-proliferation. So we destroyed all of our bombers in order to show the Soviet Union that we're reducing our ability to hit them with nuclear weapons. I mean, now they're talking about, China having nuclear weapons. But the problem with China's nuclear weapons is they probably also don't work, not because they haven't been maintained, but because they never worked. There are actually reports from China of missiles being found with their fuel replaced with water, and Chinese officials having sold the fuel for something else. So, I mean, it's a concern. But I mean, it's possible. It's possible that China has a much better military than they let on, and that their military isn't a joke. But it's also possible that their military is really a joke, and we shouldn't worry much about it. You know, this doesn't change the fact that they could probably take Taiwan if we weren't standing behind Taiwan. But um, you know, what's the threat? This is one of the reasons why the world is so upset about Donald Trump being in office is that we don't know what he's going to do. Right? We don't know if he's going to stand with Taiwan or not. He's unpredictable. Any career politician would stand with Taiwan when it came down to it because that's what we should do. That's what creates stability in the world. But that's not how the world works. Or Trump is going, okay, what's in it for us? He doesn't see the concept of soft power. He sees the simple, this is a business arrangement. What do we get from Taiwan directly? The indirect benefits are not as apparent. So this is one reason why it's like, why are we gonna stick our necks out for Taiwan? Well, we stick our necks out for Taiwan because it prevents the larger problems that can happen with the world. So that's that thing. Okay, we're almost at 240. And you guys don't seem to be as talkative as you used to. We're hovering in and out of. I don't understand how this chat business even works. We're hovering in and out of 7 subscribers or 7 watchers at this point. You know, again, the whole point. I'm not going to know how important live streams are to the channel until next Monday. It is still Thursday where I live. For those of you who are around the world, and it's almost 9 o'clock. So that's just one of those things. I'm trying this. You guys seem to like it. A couple of you do anyway. I'm gonna have to come out with a regular schedule, and figure out how many times a week I do live streaming. Okay, so we're at just past 240. This is Sniffles, or Mistopheles. She is also indeed a very sweet cat. Right, Mistopheles? You my sweet old girl? You my sweet old girl? You won't give me a kiss? No, you're not gonna give me a kiss? Yes. And of course, she has boogers because she's my sweet old girl, but she sniffles. So, all right. Looks like you guys are about tapped out. I mean, it's been fun. It's been real. Uh, oh, and an eighth person shows up. Probably not a subscriber. The great thing about these is that YouTube automatically switches people to them. And, that's one way to get subscribers or one way to promote your channel. But, if you guys don't interact with me, there's not a lot of reason. I know one guy who used to paint while he live streamed. And that was pretty cool, but if I painted while I was live streaming, I wouldn't be doing as much talking, would I? And I'm not a very good artist. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. So all right, I guess it's time for us to wrap this up. Any final questions? Now's the time. Last call. Come on. We're all good? Okay. So I will see you folks later. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Leave any questions you'd like to make. All right, it was nice. I'm going to make myself breakfast. All right, Frozen Fox. See you next time. Don't be a stranger. Uh, for all of you all around the world, let's save it together. I'm Richard.